I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, October the 23rd, brought to you entirely by DV Auction. Here at DV Auction, we're an auction broadcaster. We do more production sales than anybody else, and the next closest is so far back there you can't see them. We do about 1,200 bull sales a year on site, and we'd sure be glad to do yours if you're not already with us. We cover about 75 regular cattle auctions every week, and we've got about 200 auction markets that are contributing data into our Cattle Market Central database and onto the National Beef Wire. So be sure and get involved if you're not already. If you've got a bull sale that you'd like to broadcast on the internet and take bids that way, get a hold of us. We can do it on site. It's very reasonable. If you want to have a TV sale where you don't have to run the bulls through the ring, we can do the video work for you, bring the big screens in and have your sale right there, and you don't have to worry about hurting one of them or having one of them blow up in the ring and kill the sale on it. But be sure to check out dvauction.com for a whole bunch of upcoming fall sales. And the fall run is on. Just about anywhere that gets many calves is starting to get a lot of them. We've got big sales in the northern plains, down in the southern plains now too. We're starting to see some big runs of calves. We kind of saw that our calf run was held up a little bit, partially due to that fire at Tyson Meats in Holcomb, Kansas there, because of all the uncertainty. We've pretty much regained everything we had at that point. I don't know who's going to pay for all the loss that happened in between. Probably nobody, I'm sure. But we should have an investigation here before too long. Still are not up and running at that Tyson Fresh Meats plant, the Finney County plant in Holcomb, Kansas. We are back up and running from the explosion we had last week at Cargill Dodge City. But I hope you guys check out Drovers from time to time. My good friend Greg Henderson there, he's a writer for them, been doing this for a long time, and really gives a fair analysis of things, but of course he's looking out for your cattleman's interests there. But he had an article that come out earlier this week, and it was about the fake meat, and saying that you know, maybe it's hit a snag a little bit, but he was referring in there about Impossible Meat's mission. And if you guys haven't seen this, I want to read part of it to you. Impossible Meat's mission, they're the ones that make the Impossible to choke down Gaines Burgers at the Burger King. Their mission is to replace the need for animals as a food production technology. They want to do that globally by 2035. Next year's 2020, guys. Would you still like to be raising cattle in 15 years? Well, not if things go by the way of this Impossible Meats outfit here. And if you're stopping at a Burger King, if you're eating a fake meat, I can't tell you that's what their mission is to put everybody out of business that's raising cattle. Ed Renzi, who is a former CEO and president of McDonald's, hasn't been there for a while, starting to get some age on him, but you know, he did an op-ed in a major magazine or newspaper this past week, and there are some things in there that kind of give you an idea where they were coming from. Of course, he was old school. He never dreamed about selling fake meat mashed burgers in one of his restaurants whenever he was running McDonald's. But he was quoted as saying, "I have no problem with Americans voluntarily choosing a vegetarian or vegan diet. I do have a problem with guilting Americans into diet changes on faulty information." And I think that is something that everybody should pay attention to, should take notice of. This is the guy that was CEO and president of McDonald's for many years. Just being honest there. But check out Greg Henderson's article there in Drovers. You can find it online or in the magazine, of course. But let's look at the board for Tuesday. October live cattle futures down $1.07. And I told you guys on the previous visit, we're likely to have some pressure on that spot futures market on the live cattle because of the increased deliveries that showed up against the board there. And that's what they're meant to do, is to get things back in line there. And as much as we like for your cattle markets to be higher, your guys that have cattle that are ready on the spot market, the fat cattle, and they've got them hedged, they'd like for the cash market to be higher than the board. So it helps them to get the board pushed down a little bit, and we're here square and actually towards the end of your spot month. So live cattle futures down $1.07. That could help them get a little bit of basis if they can hold the market to at least where it was last week. But 109.87 is where your October's sitting right now. December live cattle futures down 17 cents at 113.70. October feeder cattle up 27 at 143.70, and November up 65 cents at 143.5. Fat cattle trade, negotiated trade in the country is non-existent so far this week, so that's a good thing. Nobody's in a big hurry to start puking their fat cattle, so we should be able to hold at least steady here. So we're hoping for another buck or two, but we're thinking at least steady. You look at a fat cattle auction, a big one early in the week is Stockman's Livestock. Yankton, South Dakota had over 3,000 head of slaughter cattle there, and they took a buck or two off of them there. But you know, that's just kind of the way that goes in there, and whether they want to support the auction market or not, the packers that participate there. But a lot of that also has to do with your farmer feeder types that come in there and like to buy up some of those more moderate weights, weighing in 1,300 pounds and back, and put a little more finish to them. And but anyway, your prices at Stockman's and Yankton on slaughter steers and heifers ran from $1.05.5 up to $1.15. Look at some things that are going on later this week. Western Video Market is going to have one of their online video sales this Thursday morning, October the 24th. It's 9 o'clock Pacific, 11 o'clock Central. You can go on to wvmcattle.com and bid right there, or you can go on to dvauction.com and place your bids online right there if you can't make it to Cottonwood, California, where the sale's being held. But they've got a lighter run, of course, for them, but 13,000 head. But take note, there's a lot of weaned calves on there, more than you'll see on most video sales. A lot of weaned calves and pretty good jag of yearlings too. And this is kind of the end of the big yearling run for way out west, and I'm talking about California, Oregon, Idaho, and Nevada ranches, mostly being represented on the Western Video Market sale this Thursday morning. And don't forget to get on there and view that if you can't make it, which a lot of us out here in the central part not going to be able to do it, but you can sure log on to dvauction.com and view and bid on that sale. Your real-time index on Cattle Market Central late in the day on Tuesday is setting at 143.65, down about 24 cents there from the end of Monday's sales. And it's just more calves showing up on the market, more calves, and just about anywhere you go on these top quality calves, even the big jags that are coming in, even the hard weaned ones and the ones that's got all the shots in them like they're supposed to have. Most of your big strings of top quality 5-weight calves are selling in the 150s somewhere. And that's pretty much top to bottom. Northern Plains, Southern Plains. Southern Plains got a lot of demand due to the good wheat pasture prospects that we've got, which will be turning out on those here around the middle of November. The Northern Plains has got extra demand because the quality is so good, and they're getting those one iron big strings of ranch calves coming in. But Cherokee livestock sales there, Cherokee, Oklahoma, talked to them there. They're going to have about 3,000 head, got 1,800 head of really nice calves there here on Wednesday, so be sure and check that out if you get a chance. Let's talk about some sales that happened on Tuesday. Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma, and man, I tell you what, they sell the cattle there, and they're starting to get some big runs of calves in there. 3,200 head there. The market on there, it's the only place you'll see this market. If you look at Cattle Market Central, you see the automated market report there, and I looked at the trend, and your lighter calves were some higher, like your wheat pasture type calves weighing in the 4s and down. Your heavier calves, and this is pretty much the trend anywhere this week and last week and probably next week. Your lighter calves higher, your heavier calves a little bit cheaper, and any yearling cattle, especially the yearling steers there at Beaver, Oklahoma, they were $1 to $2 higher, and good demand on anything that's a yearling. But look at your best tested weight there on yearling steers was 473 head of 8-weight steers, averaged 863 at 149.60 on some cattle that are averaging on the heavy end of the 8s, and a lot of loads of them in there. That 149.60 on your 8-weighted average was higher than your 7-weight calves, higher than your 6-weight calves, and dang near as high as your 5-weight calves. So you see what kind of demand we see for a big yearling this time of year, right during the fall run. Ozarks Regional Stockyards, West Plains, Missouri. You can watch it on DV Auction every Tuesday, and a big cow sale on Wednesday, and they usually have a lot of replacement type cattle there on a Wednesday. 3,300 head there at Ozarks. They called the calves there $2 to $6 lower, but we cleaned up that Gardner deal from down there in Arkansas. They had 4 loads 2 weeks ago, 4 loads last week, and another 3 loads of big 9-weight yearling steers there from the Gardner farms. 165 head of them, weighed 939 at 137.85. So in the last 3 weeks, they sold 11 loads of those cattle, and they weighed real tight in there in the low middle part of the low 9s, from 9 to 950, and they sold within 25 cents a hundred of each other. So pretty steady market there on yearlings there in south central Missouri. North Platte Stockyards, Kyle Lehman's sale barn there, a good friend of mine. They had a stick out sale on some bigger calves. 73 head of 618-pound steer calves, North Platte, Nebraska, bring $162. Philip the Giant had a big sale. They were still trying to work through all those cattle pretty late in the day on Tuesday, but they had another big sale. But stick out sale on some lighter weight steer calves there in Philip. 99 head of 508-pound steer calves in Philip, bring $172. But your top quote I'm going to give out of Fredonia, Kansas, at their in-house video they have there. Look at a big string of Pickett Ranch heifers, 400 head of them, be 90% black. They were bought in cattle there and put together, but really good quality kind. They all fit together nice, and like I said, mostly all black, over 90% of them black. 400-pound heifers turned out on grass to weigh 600 pounds, immediate delivery, $158.50. That's from Fredonia, Kansas, at the Fredonia Livestock Auctions in-house video sale. That's your feeder flash for Wednesday.